Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
The medical marijuana. The medical marijuana. Radio show. The medical marijuana for you and me. Ah, yeah, the medical marijuana. Whoa, 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 ah, yeah, the medical. It's the medical marijuana show. You knew we know.
I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Hey, boy, don't feel my world untrue. Yeah, I want to talk to you. My world can be true if you do what I tell you to. I want to talk to you.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of Medical Marijuana Radio for Saturday, the 14th of November, 2015. I'm your host, Larry Love, and we're here every Saturday with a new show to bring you the latest information on medical marijuana, cannabis, weed, ganja, and recreational of the same product from all around the globe. And this week we have a guest, Rob Lombino, who he and his partner have developed a new, safer way to use a vaporizer. And of course, it's a new vaporizer with all kinds of new developments in it that help you dose. And it's made very, very healthy. So that's called the Newton. And we'll have that interview after the break. And but we also have some news for you, as always. First up, let's go go to the politics. Bernie Sanders every week is saying something about what he'll do if he's elected. So here is this short report.
Senator Bernie Sanders trying to alter U.S. laws on cannabis. The Democratic presidential candidate filed a bill in the Senate to remove all mentions of marijuana from the law. In a bill called, quote, Ending Federal Marijuana Prohibition of 2015, Sanders seeks to end federal criminalization of the drug, aiming to let states make decisions without involving the federal government. The laws currently differ from state to state. So far, Colorado, Alaska, Oregon, and Washington have legalized the sale and possession of cannabis. Bottom line, Sanders wants to legalize marijuana throughout the U.S.
And he's about the only one of the candidates that wants to do that. I mean, even Hillary last week said that she supports rescheduling, but to Schedule 2 to allow for more tests and trials and research and all that. But, that's not going to work. It really needs to come off the schedule. There's plenty of trials out there and reports from, Europe and Israel and all over the place. So, I mean, I think they better start reading. We're 10 years behind, at least, on that. But with all of those states that are legalizing for medical and recreational use, pesticides is a huge, huge concern. Finally, a governor has stepped forward, Governor Hickenlooper of Colorado, and he has put out yesterday an executive order declaring tainted pot as a threat to public safety. So here's this report.
Hello, I'm Molly Hughes in the Denver Post newsroom. There is little room for confusion now that Governor John Hickenlooper has issued an executive order regarding the use of pesticides on marijuana. The governor calls the pesticides a threat to public safety. This is the first time we've heard from John Hickenlooper since a Denver Post investigation revealed recently that banned substances were still being used on cannabis products and that high levels of those pesticides were found on products still being sold to consumers. The executive order issued yesterday demands all state agencies immediately begin investigating and enforcing the ban on unapproved pesticides, including the destruction of any cannabis products found to be in violation. The executive order offers clarity and is a stiffer approach than the quarantines and recalls that Denver health officials have exercised in the past. In most of those cases, the products were put back on the market after a quarantine period. The governor now leaves no room for misunderstanding, as state officials had been batting around pesticide rules for more than a year with little to no enforcement.
See, that's the whole key. Little to no enforcement. The departments of health and the regulators of medical cannabis and recreational cannabis, they make rules, and then it takes them a long time to enforce them. And we'll be talking in a couple of minutes about here in New Mexico what's going on in order to enforce rules and so forth. But staying with the contaminated plants and pesticides, here is a report from Oregon, from the Oregonian, actually, which is a really interesting website and publication. This is also about contaminated marijuana sold at Oregon dispensaries. This piece really explains things very, very well, and of course, it's produced in the Oregon way. If you watch some of those TV shows, I can't think of the name of it right now, but with Fred Armisen. So here's the Oregonian. Good report. Listen to it. It really explains things really well.
Most people recognize marijuana in the flower form, but marijuana concentrates are gaining popularity among medicinal users for their fast-acting and potent quality. Dried marijuana flowers typically contain 10 to 25% THC, while marijuana concentrates can have up to 80% THC. To make a concentrate, marijuana goes through an extraction process, where a solvent breaks down the plant matter, leaving behind a typically waxy or crumbly goo. But the concentration process concentrates everything: the THC and other cannabinoids you want, and the chemicals you don't. The Oregonian Oregon Live tested 10 concentrates, and only 2 came up clean. The other 8 tested positive for pesticides. 3 failed to meet Oregon's standard for residual pesticides and shouldn't have been sold on dispensary shelves. One of them was marketed as organic, yet had contained a chemical found in flea and tick products. Another concentrate contained a common ingredient in household ant and cockroach killers. It was detected at 21 times what the state allows. The most contaminated tested positive for 7 chemical compounds, only one of which is covered by Oregon's medical marijuana testing rules. Here's the kicker. Oregon does require pesticide testing of marijuana, but if that test happens on the flower, contaminated concentrates may go overlooked. And concentrates have been found to be up to 10 times as contaminated as dry flower. What's worse, the state asks that marijuana be tested for compounds in only 4 broad categories. This allows potentially harmful and commonly used pesticides to slip through the cracks, even when levels far exceed what the federal government allows in other things we consume. Marijuana's outlaw status under federal law has complicated pesticide policy in states where the drug is legal. States typically rely on the federal government for guidance on which pesticides to use, on which crops, and how much. But when it comes to weed, states are on their own. Washington and Colorado have come up with their own guidelines for which chemicals are allowed on commercial-grade cannabis crops. And if we compare Washington's acceptable guidelines to the compounds found in the Oregonian's pesticide analysis, all but 1 product would have been allowed. Oregon's medical marijuana patients walk into regulated dispensaries with the state's assurance that all cannabis products are thoroughly screened for pesticides. But patients may walk out vulnerable to chemicals that federal laws wouldn't allow on food.
And again, that's from the Oregonian. It really explains things. They did lots of testing, and they found that only 1 product passed. There was lots of contaminants, even in the extracts after they've been purged and everything. So we need the regulators, like I say, to regulate. It's great that they put in place rules and regulations and ways of watching what's going on, but they have to inspect And here in New Mexico, the Department of Health here, who is in lots of deep water right now because there's a lawsuit that we've talked about, and I'll play a short little clip again, but they need to start regulating. Here in New Mexico, they give the growers, the dispensaries, the licensed nonprofits, 24-hour notice before they come over and count their plants, look around, see what's going on, maybe look to see if there's any pesticide bottles around. 24 hours notice. I think that's plenty of time for people to clean up. If they're using pesticides, they don't have the right attitude to be in at least the medical business, and of course recreational as well. Our bodies are very susceptible to these pesticides. But to give these people 24 hours to clean up and to hide their stuff, that's not regulating, and that's not helping the patients. Again, the New Mexico Department of Health has got a lawsuit against them. Here's this report from one of the local stations from this week.
The Valley's medical marijuana industry is approaching a new milestone. Euphoria Wellness is launching the city's first ever delivery service.
Sorry about that. That was the wrong clip. Let me just go on. I'll play that clip in a second. It's about Nevada and a delivery service. This is the New Mexico lawsuit. Sorry about that, folks.
New court documents accuse New Mexico's health department of ignoring medical marijuana needs in one part of our state. Paperwork filed in the state Supreme Court claims Grant, Cibola, Catron, and Hidalgo counties are being overlooked when it comes to licensed dispensaries. A medical pot patient and a marijuana producer applicant filed this paperwork. They want justices to require the health department to license a producer in Cibola County who will deliver to other parts of western New Mexico.
So that's the contention. They had a chance to license several people to take care of the outskirts of New Mexico, but instead they loaded up again in the Albuquerque area and one new one in Santa Fe. So they're not doing a great job, but they did hire a company out of Florida called BioTrack. This is one of the seed-to-sale tracking companies. They were supposed to integrate the BioTrack tracking with the dispensaries tracking. Some of them are using MJ Freeway, some of them are using other software, but they all have to link up to the BioTrack at the Department of Health. So here is a little talk about BioTrack with the head guy at BioTrack, talking about what BioTrack does. And it's a seed-to-sale tracking. And if you're in a state that doesn't have medical marijuana or recreational, or if you are in a state that does, this is coming to you soon, if it's BioTrack or something else. But they're really getting some restrictions going. So here is what BioTrack will do.
So last year, the big news was that BioTrack THC won the contract for the state of Washington's seed-to-sale traceability system that the government agency uses to monitor inventory tracking from seed-to-sale industry-wide. So this year, BioTrack earlier won the contract for the state of New Mexico's seed-to-sale traceability system. BioTrack THC also won, well, at least is named winner apparent for the state of New York's seed-to-sale traceability system. So we're very excited, very happy, and the industry is just continuing to move forward and utilize technology for accountability and transparency purposes. BioTrack THC stands alone as the only software company that is providing seed-to-sale software to both the private sector and to state agencies. And so the state agency product is informed by the business system and by the innovations going on in the business sector. The cannabis industry of today is not the same as it was even 5 years ago. We are all pioneers. We're all innovators. And so to be able to apply best practices from other industries while at the same time understanding that the cannabis industry is incredibly unique. And so to be able to find those kinds of people who have that passion and who have the resourcefulness to take, just a little bit and build something no one else has seen before is really what's truly critical to success. We serve two really separate audiences. The first are the government agencies. And what I would really like for all of them to know, states that either currently have existing cannabis programs or states that are looking to implement or pass new legislation, we would want them to really understand that technology now is here that enables them to have full visibility, seed to sale, over the entire process, to make sure that the good actors are succeeding and the bad actors are staying out of the industry. And so it enables law enforcement, it enables Department of Health, liquor boards to do their jobs more effectively. And then from the business owner perspective, to make sure that they've got the tools in place to really run a successful and efficient and an effective business. As an industry, we've always kind of had this us against the world mentality. And now that cannabis is coming into the mainstream, and we've seen a huge change in the political landscape and in public opinion, it's time for us to not be as antagonistic, whether that's to government agencies, whether that is to other voters. You know, we really, and this is something BioTrack strives to be, right? Because we have a system that is a business tool for business owners and business managers to be more profitable. At the same time, we also have a tool for government agencies to have peace of mind, knowing that everyone's in compliance. And so really to be able to build bridges and to make sure that we are getting, you know, and this has nothing to do with compromise, but it has everything to do with making sure that as an industry, we are accepted and that we partner with those who are either on the fence or even somewhat skeptical, so that way, as an industry as a whole, we are all more successful. Everybody has seen that the sky hasn't fallen in Colorado yet, in Washington. You know, there's been no statistically significant increase in impaired driving. High schoolers aren't running rampant in the streets with pounds of weed in their backpacks. But the challenge is that's on the other side of the country. And I think it's going to be really neat to see over the next 18 months, over the next 2 years, that the sky's not going to fall in the Northeast either. And that people are going to be able to see from this industry in New York that this can work and that cannabis can come into the mainstream, can be part of everyday lives, and not be, there's not going to be a zombie apocalypse.
So again, that's one of the head guys at BioTrack Industries. They're out of Florida. They have contracts in Washington State to regulate with their software. Obviously, I think they said they're coming to New York. They're here in New Mexico. So New Mexico was supposed to get their licensed nonprofit producers, the growers, the dispensaries, in compliance by the 16th, which is just 2 days from now, Monday. However, late breaking news from the Department of Health on Friday afternoon said that they have delayed that until the 1st of December. I also heard an unconfirmed report that they're delaying it in Washington. It was supposed to go into effect, and there's a delay there. MJ Freeway is one of the foremost softwares that dispensaries use to do sales and inventory and to track their plants and all that. They had a webinar this past week for the licensed dispensaries here in New Mexico, thinking that they were going to have to be in place by the 16th. And I was invited to that, and I pulled one little clip which will show you what it is that will be tracked. It's quite extensive, and one of the things that really affects the patients is here in New Mexico, they've limited the patients to what they can purchase in a 3-month period. I believe they're calling them units, 270 units, which are really grams of marijuana. So they're going to be tracking every sale. There's going to be lots of input, and one of the people did say that it looks like they're going to have a dedicated person at each one of these dispensaries to input everything every day. So here is what is going to be required by New Mexico and MJ Freeway and BioTrack. Here's this short clip from the webinar.
what is needed for you to be compliant on the 16th. So we're going to need to enter all of your data from MJ Freeway. Everything that's existing in your business right now will have to be entered into the New Mexico Department of Health site that you should have already been given information to. We'll hit that on the next slide. But that means that if you're a producer licensee with the state, that means your rooms, all employees, vehicles, every strain in your system, all of your inventory to the state system is going to be your clones, packages of flour, shake, and waste, seeds, plant tissue, and all plants. So everything that's a part of your cultivation that's active data right now, you will need to have entered into your system. For processor licensees, this also means your rooms, all employees, vehicles, all on-hand inventory, all of your current products, and all unprocessed inventory. Retail licensees will also need to enter rooms, employees, vehicles, strains, and all on-hand inventory in your system.
Seed to sale, everybody. Seed to sale. And like BioTrack said, part of this is to keep some of these people honest that maybe aren't so honest. There are lots of people, not just here in New Mexico, but in other states that are just hanging out and waiting for recreational, and they'll go crazy at that point. But back to what was happening here in New Mexico. That lawsuit has to do with serving outlying areas, helping people that can't get into dispensaries get their medicine. Here is that report from Nevada, where there are concerns with safety surrounding the delivery of medical marijuana. But this particular dispensary is in it for the right reasons. They're going to give free delivery. They're not going to be charging $40 and $50 or even $10. So here's this report from Nevada.
The Valley's medical marijuana industry is approaching a new milestone. Euphoria Wellness is launching the city's first ever delivery service. Several things need to happen first, including some thorough background checks on the delivery drivers. Action News reporter Marissa Keniston explains how it would work.
Well, deliveries start tomorrow. That means trucks filled with medical marijuana will be on the roads headed to patients. Obviously, some safety concerns. Officials say that is their top priority.
Unmarked vehicle, but it has all the safety features, built-in cameras, built-in securities all throughout the vehicle. Everything has to be locked up when you transport the product, so it's all locked up, safes in the vehicles, things like that.
That means you won't see a car with this logo driving down the street for safety reasons. Officials aren't saying how many people are in one delivery car, but they did say that there may be multiple deliveries in one trip. Euphoria will be able to deliver in all of Clark County. That's Henderson, Las Vegas, and North Las Vegas.
Patients that do not drive, patients that have been taking the bus to come to us, we're able to now come to them so they don't have to take that extra step. And it's complimentary delivery.
Euphoria is the first dispensary to legally offer delivery in the Valley. Reporting in the newsroom, Marissa Keniston, Channel 13, Action News.
Complimentary delivery. Bravo, Euphoria in Nevada. Sometimes we take things for granted. I'm here in New Mexico. We haven't had any raids, and they haven't shut down any dispensaries. But you know what? There's still problems in some states with the laws. A dispensary shut down in Michigan is this next report. There was a gentleman that's been providing medicine as a caregiver and has a dispensary, and he's getting terribly hassled. Here's this report. It's really sad, though.
Since voters passed the Medical Marijuana Act, many card-carrying patients and caregivers say they were wrongfully rated because they thought that they were protected under the law. Well, instead, many of these people are being charged and convicted.
So could confusion between state laws and local laws be at fault here? Fox 17's Dana Chiklis live in the control room tonight with more on this issue and a recent raid of a West Michigan dispensary.
Right. Well, Christian, we've showed you the state police data that showed since the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act passed back in 2007 and enacted in 2008, until last year, the arrests for marijuana went up 17%. In fact, last year alone, there were more than 20,000 arrests just for using marijuana. So what about dispensaries? Why are some raided and others seemingly untouched? Today, I met with a Muskegon caregiver who opened a dispensary, saying it was raided in April and taking him for all he's worth.
It's medical quality marijuana.
Paul Miller is a card-carrying caregiver.
So in my mind, looking at the law, I felt I was just helping customers and helping patients.
So in 2011, he opened the Muskegon Medical Marijuana Dispensary because as a patient himself, he couldn't find affordable medical-grade marijuana, something he says is badly needed in Michigan.
There's no access. You have 136,000 patients. You have 24,000 caregivers. Not all 24,000 caregivers grow for 5 patients.
To Paul, quality is king. When he was in business, he says patients were calling him across the state.
It's difficult for any patient. There's still patients out there today, I'll guarantee you, that have nowhere to turn, nobody to call, and no way to get medical marijuana.
But last April, his large-scale caregiving was cut short. West Michigan enforcement team officers showed up with a warrant, raided him, and shut down his dispensary. He says they took him for all he's worth. Court documents show officers also seized more than $16,000 from the dispensary safe, and Paul says they emptied $25 grand from his business bank account the next day, charging him with a 15-year felony for growing and delivering 45 kilos of marijuana. But part of the problem here, Paul says, is that part of the 45 kilos cops took wasn't just pure marijuana, but total weights of medibles like brownies.
That's the whole thing. The state's just creating criminals almost as fast as they can pump them out of jail, you know. But it's really sad, you know, that the people that pay the price are the actual patients and the people that can't afford to.
Paul wanted to fight the charge all the way to a jury, but the high legal costs forced him to take a plea deal this week.
When it comes down to it, you can only hold out until you're broke and you can't eat. And so now we're looking at 18 months probation, which I have to pay $30 a month to the city. And then, of course, $650 in court costs. So you're looking at another grand to Muskegon, including the $29,000 the state police stuck in their pocket.
When it comes to the pending medical marijuana legislation, Paul says with police wanting to phase out the caregiver, he doesn't buy it.
But I really feel it's bad to limit and have a certain amount of commercial grows. The only people it's good for is the state and the people with money that can afford to pay the licensing.
Paul, they're saying he's a skeptic of some of this medical marijuana legislation that's on the table. Part of that police testimony we showed you earlier on Tuesday, police saying they want to cut out the caregiver completely.
So yeah, cutting out the caregiver system, I don't believe is a good idea. I wish we had that here in New Mexico. It's really great because it's usually patients helping patients and good growers helping patients, and it sort of keeps the price of the medicine down. So before we take a quick little break, or I'm going to do without the commercials today because we're running short of time, but this is a really important piece that I'm going to play for you right now. This is how to safely medicate your dogs with cannabis. We're not the only species that can benefit from cannabis. So here is this. This is a lady who had some problems with her elderly dogs, and here's this report. It's quite good.
2 of my 3 dogs are cannabis dogs. Kaylee, who is a rat terrier, she has fatty tumors where she, rather than collecting fat throughout her body in kind of an even pad, getting fat all over, she collects it in these pockets. And we seem to be able to manage her fatty tumors better by controlling her diet and keeping cannabis in it. Blizzard, who is an American Eskimo, he has an abuse history. The person that we got him from was an alcoholic and would work all day and then go to the bars all night, and kept Blizzard as a puppy in a tiny bathroom with no real activity physically. So when we got him, his hips weren't functioning well. He couldn't run well. He couldn't jump up onto furniture, onto the couch like our other dogs. Cannabis keeps him mobile. It keeps his pain or any discomfort he might have in check. If we were doing this through pharma, he would be probably on something like Rimadyl for arthritic dogs. And I talked to the vet and told him that I was using cannabis to help treat his these issues as he was getting older, and he wanted to change him over to a pharmaceutical. And I asked him, well, don't they have a lot of side effects? And he said, yeah, but they pretty much all have side effects. And I said, from what I've seen, not cannabis. The vet wanted me to switch my dog to something that made him more comfortable, even though what I was doing was making my dog more comfortable. The way we figured out the dosage for our pets is a lot the way you do with humans. It's a lot of trial and error. You start with a small dose, and then you observe and wait and see how they respond. And now I've been using cannabis with my dogs therapeutically for several years, and I can tell when they need more or less. Very cautious in increasing the dose so that we don't get any of the kind of stony, negative, uncomfortable side effects. Things that are higher in CBD, lower in THC, probably start out with half to 1 milligram dosage if you can dose that finely. But the safer thing is to stay more with the CBD, and also some people are working now with THCA, the THC acid, before it's decarboxylated. It doesn't have the psychoactive effects. For animals, just like with humans, we like to work with strains or products that are higher in those cannabinoids so that we get that medicinal value without worrying as much about any negative psychoactive effects, which I think we have to be particularly aware of with our animals, because how do you explain to your dog that you're not going to die, just sit back and chill? We don't have that communication, and it can be very uncomfortable for them.
But it can actually be very, very helpful. There's lots of other information out there. Google cannabis and your pets. There's products that are being made. Most of them are CBD. It can really, really help. That's anecdotal, but so is everything in this industry. We'll be right back with Rob Lombino, who is one of the developers of the Newton, a new dosage sensitive way to use a vaporizer. This is a new vaporizer that they've just developed, and it's all about the dosage. We'll be right back with that interview in just a second.
It's all about the 420 MMJ Radio.
And we're back. And online today, I have Roberto Lombino, also known as Rob Lombino, who has a partner named Andrew Christoph from Ananas tech startup that has developed a new vaporizer, type of vaporizer for dosing. So, Rob, give me a little background on the device first, and then tell me how you got to that point.
Sure. So the Newton is a personalized vaporizer designed purely for medical patients. My team and I recognized that medical patients don't have a viable method to consume cannabis in a healthy way. So we decided to use modern technology that we learned about in our engineering studies to develop a new vaporizer. We've incorporated the latest heating methods in order to make it accurate, and advanced software to make it precise.
Okay, so we're talking about induction heating is what the article said, right?
Correct.
All right, so how is that different from, let's say, my Zephyr Ion or a Volcano?
So we actually studied about the top 50 vaporizers on the market today, and we found that all of them are using what's called resistive heating, which is a very crude method of just running an electric current through a piece of metal. And oftentimes that is used, the container that holds the flower, cannabis flower, is heated up itself, which tends to burn the flower. However, the Volcano found a way around that by using convection, very similar to a convection oven, which blows hot air onto the flower, which is a very even heating process. But they're still using resistive heaters. So we, in our engineering studies, learned from physics that induction is the most efficient method of energy transfer. And that's why it's being used by Tesla in their induction motors, which are 60% more efficient than combustion engines. So our vaporizer, which implements a proprietary induction and convection heater, is able to be 60% more efficient and accurate than the vaporizers on the market today.
So when you're talking about dosage, though, okay, is it heating up that dosage, that one dose at a time, or is it controlling the output?
So with induction, we're able to get an accuracy up to 0.5 degrees Celsius. That itself is able to just allow us to target the individual cannabinoids that the medical patients desire. However, the dosage is going to come from our software, and that's going to be able to determine the cannabinoids in the individual strains that the patients are consuming and the proper dose that is desired for that individual patient.
All right,
and this is done on,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So this is done on a very individual level because we recognize that personalized medicine is the way of the future.
So is it easier to control the temperature with induction heating? Is that giving you more control over that?
Absolutely. As I mentioned, we can get down to 0.5 degrees Celsius of our target temperature. And most other vaporizers are within 1 degree to 5 degrees of their target.
Okay, so, you know, when I first heard about vaporizers was probably in 2008 or 2009, okay? I'm old school. I'm 65 years old. I've been smoking since the summer of '68 on Sunset Strip in Hollywood, California, and that's where I lived for most of my life. So I was, you know, a little bit reluctant about vaporizer. I didn't understand it. You know, it was good. You know, what are they doing? And then finally, you know, a friend had one. I can't remember which one it was, but it was an old, you know, whip type vaporizer. And I said, let me borrow that for a couple of days. So I borrowed it, and gosh, it took me a really long time to figure out the technique. It might have taken me 2 months, seriously, to figure out the technique of inhaling it so that you're not burning it and you are getting vapor. So the technology has come a long way since then. The cannabinoids, there's so many different cannabinoids, and I'm guessing, from what I've read, I'm not a scientist, that they vaporize at different temperatures. Okay, what are you finding with your experimenting and so forth, a particular temperature where you can grab most of the cannabinoids without burning them?
Absolutely. So there are about 80 different cannabinoids that are in cannabis today, and we really only know the medicinal benefit of about 7 of those cannabinoids. So there's a lot of research that still needs to be done on this. However, we're confident that we'll be able to be a big part of helping that research get going. From what we have so far, we know that individual cannabinoids vaporize at different temperatures. For instance, THC is going to vaporize at the lowest temperature of 165 degrees C, whereas CBD is going to vaporize a little bit higher, 175.
All right, so you're talking about Celsius, right?
Correct.
Can you convert that for us, because you know, most people in the United States don't get it. Okay, they don't get Celsius.
Gotcha. So that's going to be low 300s. I want to say 325, 365 ish. And you know, for us, we're engineers, so we like to use Celsius.
No, I get it, but you know, we're trying to educate the layman out there, and Celsius, what is that? You know, so you know, I think that's you know, a better way to let people like me and other. I'm a patient also, by the way. I don't just do this show. I've been a patient in the program, and I'm really all about the medical cannabis. So all right, so a lot of people make mistakes when they're cooking. When they're heating, you know, they might be, you know, making brownies or something with cannabis, and if they're cooking it at 350, man, they're cooking off a bunch of cannabinoids, aren't they?
Yeah, it depends on, you know, what you're cooking, but if you're, you know, the way that a lot of people, for instance, you're making brownies in your kitchen, they usually tell you to, you know, bring the temperature to a simmer for the oil and then put in the cannabis, and that's going to get you to vaporize the majority of the cannabinoids, because that's going to get towards the higher temperatures, around 200 degrees Celsius. And the key with going for the target temperature is that you don't burn anything. Because when you go to the high temperatures, you're going to end up burning the cannabinoids that vaporize at lower temperatures.
If you're
we're allowing.
I was just going to say, you know, I've been vaporizing for a long time now, and if you see that your spent flower is real dark brown and has black in it, well, then you're vaporizing too high. And I've had to save a few of my friends from, you know, I would go to their house, I'd see their new Volcano or their Airizer or one of those things, and the bag would be just so full and thick, and I was looking at it, I'm going, dude, this, you know, you're burning. You're not doing anything different than lighting a joint. So, you know, I've experimented over the years with, I have a Zephyr Ion, which is very interesting. I don't know if you know that vaporizer, but it's a really cool vaporizer. They sell in the 250, 300 range. And it'll blow up a bag, or you can put a whip on it and so forth. Is your dissemination of the medicine in a bag or a tube? Tell us a little bit about the Newton itself.
Sure. So we did a couple of market research surveys on Reddit, which has one of the largest cannabis-based forums on the internet. And what we found through that survey is that although a lot of people do like vaporizing, the majority of them prefer to consume through glass products, whether a bowl or a bong. So what we decided to do was allow the patients to choose their consumption method, or the delivery method of the medicine. So we give them the option to choose between a bag, which is standard for Volcano, a whip, which many people use on an Airizer, but we've also incorporated a glass tube to simulate the bong feature. And that really gives a new method of vaporization that has never been before seen.
So where are you with releasing this? Are you in beta right now? And you know, tell us a little bit about that, please.
Sure. So over the past 13 weeks, we've been participating in the Canopy Boulder Accelerator. This is a business accelerator very similar to Techstars for cannabis-based businesses in the ancillary products and services space. And through their funding, we've been able to develop 5 prototypes so far, which we'll be demoing on November 18th here in Boulder. And that's going to lead us into our early adopter program. And this is a chance for medical patients to try out this beta version of our product before it releases to the market. And this is going to, one, give them a chance to try it out, but also give us a chance to get some really valuable feedback to ensure that we're actually meeting their needs in terms of the accuracy and precision of their medical data.
Okay, so you're in Colorado, so it's a legal state as far as medical and obviously recreational is concerned.
Right.
Personally, I'm sure you've tried this a lot. Tell me about your experience. Obviously, you know what goes in comes out. So if you're vaporizing crappy cannabis, you're probably not going to get the kind of dosage that you're looking for. So how have you personally found testing different strains that may be good or worse than each other, and how is that affecting the dosage? If the strain isn't that good, do you have to dose more, and how do you figure that out?
Sure. So I'm actually a medical patient myself as well. I get migraines. And for me, cannabis is the only medicine that is able to provide the relief that I need. And in going to various dispensaries, they all have their own strains that they like to give out. But one thing that I really like is that they all have the cannabinoid percentages on the label for their bottle. So you always know what's in that strain. And based on those values, I've used the software that we're using for the vaporizer to calculate the temperatures that will optimize the delivery of that cannabinoid medicine. And it really is down to the cannabinoids, because if you have a strain that is high in CBD, you're going to have more of the medicinal effect. But if you have a strain that's higher in THC, then you're going to have more of the psychoactive effect. So the science is really hitting home with this type of information based on the cannabinoids.
How big is the unit? It's a desktop, right?
Right. So it's going to be a little bit smaller than the Volcano. Right now, it's about it's a 6x6 dodecahedron, and on top of that, you can attach the grinder as well as whatever delivery method you choose.
Do you have any kind of a bubbler attachment to cool down the vapor?
Currently, no. That is something that we'll be working to get out for our second product to hit the market.
And are you also thinking ahead of a portable unit? That, can you use induction heating portably, or is it just it needs so much power that that may not work? Tell me about your research in that.
Sure. So induction does require a considerable amount of power, but with latest advances in battery technology, we do estimate that within the next couple of years we'll be able to come out with a portable model. And in our research of the market, we've also recognized that about 80% of users prefer to choose portable vaporizers. Most of them end up upgrading to a tabletop once they realize that it just doesn't make the cut. But the portable models do offer a level of discreteness that our tabletop just doesn't meet. So that is something that we'd like to pursue later on.
And is this just vaporizing flour, bud at this point, or is there a way to vaporize shatter and oil and so forth?
That is something that we'd like to look into in the future. However, in our conversations with doctors and patients, everyone agrees that vaporizing flowers is the healthiest method to consume cannabis and the best way to deliver medicine. So we are focusing on that for our first product, focus on the medical industry. However, we do plan to create products that are focused more on the recreational users that do like to use concentrate, in which case bring that feature.
Why are they finding that vaporizing flour is better than vaporizing oil or shatter? What is the reasoning there? Because obviously oil is the extract and it's more concentrated. So what did you guys find?
So one of the things that's good about flower is that you get the entourage effect, and that's that the vaporization of all the cannabinoids present is what really gives you the true effect, true medicinal effects from cannabis. Whereas the concentrates tend to focus on individual cannabinoids, either CBD or THC. And if you're just focusing on one, then you're really going to miss out on the all-around effect of the vaporization experience. And concentrates themselves are also about 4 times as potent. Where there's going to be 20% THC in flower, that you'll most likely have 80% in the concentrates. The way they also extract it tends to use a lot of harmful chemicals that, when absorbed through the lungs, can be pretty damaging.
Mm-hmm.
It's the equivalent of taking a shot of alcohol versus drinking a beer, and that does sometimes come down to personal preference.
I like the idea of what you said about the entourage effect being more available to vaporizing bud. I don't know if you know the answer to this, but when people make extractions, that extraction, are they leaving out some cannabinoids that aren't coming with it? And is that maybe why vaporizing bud, which is pure, it's the original content of what it is? Do you have any ideas about that?
Absolutely, and that's going to come down to the fact that we really just don't know the effects of all the cannabinoids yet. So when they are isolating THC, for instance, that is going to lose out on that effect. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have cannabinoids that are present.
So a little bit about tell me a little bit about the Canopy Boulder. Is this like an ArcView? Is this a company that is seeking entrepreneurs like yourself to invest in and to finance, and like a Shark Tank kind of place?
Absolutely. It's very similar to Techstars, if you ever heard of that, where they give you some seed funding and really let you tap into a very expansive network of advisors and mentors in the industry. And they're working very closely with ArcView. It's actually one of their partner company. And we actually just got back from Vegas. We had the ArcView Investor Summit there, in which we had 3 teams from this class and 2 from last class present to investors there, which is a really great experience. And we're sort of a feeder to that, because the ArcView group recognized there really wasn't a standard for cannabis companies yet. The entrepreneurs coming into them just didn't have the presenting skills or the business skills, or sometimes even the product standards that they were looking for. So Canopy Boulder was created in order to really instill a high level of quality into these companies.
All right. So on the 18th, which is this coming week, you're going to be having a demo. Is that going to be like a webinar? Will people be able to see that online or anything, or is it just for the people in the Boulder area?
Yeah, we will be broadcasting that online. I'll see if I can find the information on that and share it with you guys. It is open to the public, of course, so we do recommend anyone in the area stop by, but we also recognize that some people won't be able to make the trip, so we'll be putting it online.
Okay, great. If I would love to have that information so that I can let people know. We're all over the country. We're on about 10 different networks, and so I think this would be very interesting for people to tune in on the 18th and see what the Newton is all about. So how can people get in touch with you, Rob? Do you have a website for the Newton?
Absolutely. Our website is ananas.us, ananas.us. There you can check out our product, what the technical specs on that. You contact us through our social media outlets. You'd also sign up for our early adopter program. We're accepting applications from medical patients in order to try out our product.
Okay, I'm going to fill one of those out myself, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah, that would be great. Now, I'm looking at the article that was in upstart.bizjournals.com. People can go check that out. It's entitled Pot and Tech Meet in Startup Targeting Medical Marijuana Market, and it's all about the Newton and about Andrew Christoph, your partner, and you, Rob Lombino. You guys are graduates of Lafayette College, Easton, Pennsylvania. How did you go from your engineering? How did you say, I want to improve on the vaporizers? How did you get there first?
How did you get there? So in school, we're both engineers. We learned about all these really cool applications for hardware and software. And when in our non-study hours, we tended to use vaporizers for recreation. And one of the things we noticed is that they really didn't meet these standards for hardware and software that we were learning about.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided, taking upon ourselves, to create a better vaporizer, one that had the high quality and advanced technology that we were used to in our everyday lives. We have a smartphone in our pocket that is able to connect to a lot of products that we have in our home. So it made sense to be able to pair that with a vaporizer and add that level of communication with the smartphone and the availability of the software.
Mm-hmm. FDA approval, I noticed in the article it says that you have to jump through some hoops and so forth. Do you need FDA approval to put this product on the market? And what's the situation with that?
No, we will be able to release our product to the market for medical patients without an FDA approval. What that's going to be used for is the ability to have our product available on American healthcare services like Medicaid, and also abroad. For instance, Health Canada would be able to provide our vaporizer at a discount to medical patients.
So what do you expect, obviously, when you first develop a product like this and you have to manufacture them, price is going to be a little higher at the beginning than it will be down the line. What are you expecting to roll out this product at?
So we're expecting to launch in fourth quarter of 2016 at a price point ranging from $600 to $800, depending on how our manufacturing process goes going forward. But we'll be testing that price point with the crowdfunding campaign in spring of 2016 to make sure that it's something that medical patients are willing to pay for.
Yes, I mean, obviously that range is right up there with the Volcano and some of the expensive vaporizers. So I mean, we know already that there is a market there. Obviously, I worked at the front of a dispensary for a couple of years, and I saw the kind of people that come in there. At least in New Mexico, a lot of people don't have money like that. So in order to get an insurance company to pay for it, do you think that's down the line that they will at some point when the business changes?
Yes. So that's, going for, the direct-to-consumer model in the beginning is obviously a great way to get towards that cash-positive status. However, we do plan to reach out to hospitals, physicians, and healthcare providers in order to offer it at that discounted price to their patients.
Well, you know, in Israel, they're already using vaporizers in hospitals, so that's something that they do. I've done stories about it before. I've seen videos about it. You can be in your hospital room and vaporize cannabis for certain afflictions. So I think you're in the right arena. And again, that's Ananas. That's ANANAS.us. Check out the Newton there. And any other information would you like to get out today, Rob?
No, that's about it. I think we covered everything.
All right, cool. If you could send me an email, I'd like to get out the link that people can watch on the 18th if they would like to watch your launch and of the Newton. So we'll have that for our listeners. Thank you very much, Rob Lombino. I wish you luck with this. And if you're ever down in the Santa Fe area, which is not too far from where you are, give me a shout out. And we'll be right back after these words. And if you check my Facebook page, which is LS Love or MMJ Radio, I'll put the link up to the webinar showing the Newton for Wednesday. We'll be right back after this. Thank you, Roberto Lombino. and check out Ananas, that's ANANAS.US for the Newton. Check it out. Also want to thank my two radio mentors, both with the initials HS. Thank you for your inspiration. Don't forget my weekly Wednesdays with Larawana show on CanawanaBuy.com. CanawanaBuy.com if you're a patient, a dispensary, a head shop. Great products, fast shipping, great prices. CanawanaBuy.com. If you'd like to write the show, you want to be a guest, you have an idea for a topic, info@MMJRadio.com. If you would like to hear some old shows, we've been doing them for 6 years, go to MMJRadio.com. My YouTube channel is LSLove88. On Spreaker, it's MMJ Radio. Also on SoundCloud, MMJ Radio. iHeartRadio on the Time for Hemp Network, CannabisTube.net, on Now TV, Channel 937, 420radio.org, and the Pothead Universe Radio, and on the Roku box. It's the U.S. Weed Channel. Peace and love, everybody.
Shalom.